And as we will talk about later in the show, I am leaving sometime next week to go to Poland, and we will be doing the show from Poland live. And we'll talk about why Poland and why we're doing that. But I'm very excited to be doing that, and we'll talk about that more. We'll wait another minute or so. Actually, it looks like people are here and ready to get started. So let's do that. Obviously, this is Beams.live. The show is How to Buy a Bomb, Stop Putin's Tanks. As I've said before, my name is Gregg Stebben. I'm really thrilled to be doing this and being here. It is my first time. If I look a little nervous, I'm a little nervous. I'm actually a radio guy, so I spend a lot of time talking into microphones, but I'm not used to having a camera pointed at my face. So that's new for me. I promise I'll get better. And you may notice that I'm reading, and I apologize for that. But again, it's new, and I may have over-prepared for today's show, but we have a lot of important things to talk about. So I wanted to make sure I got it right. And thank you again for being here. As we're getting started here, I want to note the date. It's Thursday, March 24th. And that's a very significant date. And I suspect you all understand why. The Russians invaded Ukraine 1 month ago today. And if we have time later, I'm going to show a video, if I can figure out how to show the video, that was posted to social media from President Zelensky last night to talk about the marking of this 1 month anniversary of the Russian invasion. And I believe this is the first time he's done a video in English. He says some things in the video. Oh, in fact, I'm learning as we go here. I'm going to put the URL or a URL for the video in the chat. So don't leave now, please, but you might want to watch that later. It is short. It's 2 minutes or less, but it's very powerful. And I just want to read one thing that he said about video. President Zelensky said in the video, because it's really not about just Ukraine. It's really about us. I mean, literally us who are here and all of us, and what it means to live in a world that puts freedom above all. So here's what President Zelensky said last night in this video to mark the 1 month anniversary of the start of the war. He said, "The war of Russia is not only the war against Ukraine. Its meaning is much wider. Russia started the war against freedom as it is. This is only the beginning for Russia. On the Ukrainian land, Russia is trying to defeat the freedom of all people in Europe and of all people in the world. It tries to show that only crude and cruel force matters." That's why we're here, really. That's why we have a show called How to Buy a Bomb, Stop Putin's Tanks. And our goal here, as you figured out from the name of the show, is to raise money to buy bombs for Ukraine, or to be more explicit, to stop Putin. And we do this not as aggressors, just as Ukraine fights the way it does today, not as aggressors, but we do this to support Ukraine in self-defense, because as President Zelensky said, Russia is trying to defeat the freedom of all people in Europe and of all people in the world. That includes us. And by the way, even though the name of the show is How to Buy a Bomb, Stop Putin's Tanks, we're not just going to raise money for bombs. We are going to do that, and we're going to talk more about that. But that's not the only thing we're going to raise money for. We're also going to raise money for ambulances for Ukraine, and we're going to raise money for Ukrainian soldier support. And this is a really good time for me to point out that on your screen, in the upper right, is a button that either says Pay Host or it has a dollar sign on it. That's where, if it says Pay Host, please ignore that. I am not being paid to do this. It is not for paying the host. It is for raising money for Ukraine. And Jim Jorgensen, one of the co-founders of Beams, is going to join us in a few minutes. And we're going to talk about how this all works and where the money goes. And frankly, he's become kind of an expert on the weapons being used in Ukraine since we started talking about this show, as I am trying to do as well. So we are going to raise money for bombs, for anti-tank missiles, for ambulances, for soldier support, frankly. And you can hit that button right now and make a contribution. And that really is the point of this, is to raise money for Ukraine. So I'm not kidding when I say, please hit that button and hit it often, and your money will be put to good use. And as I said, I'm not be paid to do this show. I'm here because I, like you, believe in the cause. So I also want to point out that during the course of ongoing shows, we're not only going to talk about raising money, but there's another thing that you or someone you know could do to support Ukraine, and that is you could actually go to Ukraine and fight with the Ukrainian army. And that's actually how I got here. A few days after Russia invaded Ukraine, I heard about a website where you can go to enlist to fight with the Ukrainian army. I'm going to put that website in the chat box right now. And the minute I heard about this website, and some of you may have seen it as well, I went there to see if I could go to Ukraine and help. That's how important this is to me. I was ready to put my life on the line to fight for freedom for the Ukrainians, and as President Zelensky said, for the people of the world. Well, if you look at the color of my hair, it's a little gray. I'm a little out of shape. I don't have any military experience. I'm not really who Ukraine is looking for help. But you may be. You may have military experience and be mission ready. And if that's the case, use that URL. It's fightforua.org, and consider going and fighting with the Ukrainian military to defeat Russia. Or maybe someone you know has been wondering, what could I do, and has military experience and would welcome the opportunity to go and fight for Ukraine. That URL is fightforua.org. Anna says, please put addresses and email to us all. Can't get it off the screen. That's great to know, Anna. Thank you. And we will. I will find out how to do that when the show is over. Anyway, this is how I got here to this show. You know, my original idea was I think I could go fight for Ukraine. I didn't think I would actually be on the battlefield, but I thought maybe I could be in the background, as a communications person or something. My next idea, when I realized I wasn't really the right kind of person to help on the battlefield, was I thought, could we, people like all of us here, could we go to Ukraine, fly the flags of our nations, create encampments so that when the Russians bombed Ukraine, they'd actually be bombing people of all countries? And would this actually be a deterrent? Because if such a thing existed, I would be on the first plane out. And I suspect some of you, if you could, would do the same thing. Well, I have friends who are Europeans. I have friends who are Poles. I have friends who are Ukrainians. I have friends who are Russians. And they explained to me that, as nice as an idea as that was, it wasn't a viable idea because, frankly, Putin probably wouldn't care. He would probably just mow all of us down too. And so that really wouldn't be helping. So the question for myself, and I think this is a question you're probably asking yourselves as well, what can I do? What can I do? I do not want to sit by and watch and look back and say, I should have done more. I could have done more. And that's where Jim Jorgensen, who's the co-founder of Beams, who you'll meet in a few minutes, told me about Beams's Stop Putin show and asked, would I want to be part of it? And as part of that conversation, Jim asked me a question that I'm going to ask you now. And I want you to jump on the chat if you can and answer this question. This is the question that this was the impetus that created this entire show. And here's the question. Please answer in the chat box. How much do you think it costs to blow up a Russian tank? How much do you think it costs to blow up a Russian tank? Any guesses? I'm watching the chat box. Nobody's guessing. Come on, you must have a guess. By the way, SPN paid for the show, made a contribution for Ukraine. Thank you, SPN. Please, if you can, also do the same. Mimi guesses $100,000 to blow up a Russian tank. Any other guesses? Come on, this is a no-risk quiz. If you're wrong, you're not going to fail the class. There is no class. Let's see some other people take a guess. Mimi says 100,000. If no one else guesses, Mimi says probably more. Okay, anyone else want to guess? Come on. Loffelman says 50K. Good guess. Anna G says 50K. Okay. So we're seeing numbers. Nelson just joined the show. Nelson, the question is, and there's a chat box on the lower left of your screen, how much do you think it costs to blow up a Russian tank? Remembering that the name of this show is How to Buy a Bomb. How much? Larry says $1,000. Larry, I don't know you, but I want to go shopping with you because you look like you know how to drive a hard bargain. Lucas says $200,000. I'm gonna tell you the number. But the reality is, when Jim asked me that question, I didn't know the answer, just like y'all, and Jim didn't know. So we did what some of you are probably doing right now. We Googled it. By the way, Ina, welcome. Thanks for being here. But we Googled it. What does it cost to blow up a Russian tank? And the answer is, I was shocked to find out. Jim was shocked to find out. The answer is, it costs about $20,000. $20,000. And when I heard that, I thought to myself, if I had $20,000, I would think it was one of the best investments of my life to use it to blow up a tank. Why? Well, because it's a war, and every time you blow up a tank, that's a significant milestone. But if you want to put it in economic terms, it's not very much money when you compare it to the millions of dollars of property, the millions of dollars of damage to property, to human life, and to freedom that one tank can do if you don't blow it up. You have to blow it up because the amount of damage it can do is incalculable, including loss of human life. $20,000 feels like a bargain. For $20,000, you'd be crazy not to do it if you had the money. So I don't have an extra $20,000. If you do, hit that button over and over again, because we'll make sure we use your money to make sure a missile or more is bought with your money. But I don't have $20,000. But I have friends, and they have friends. And every time 20 people kick in $1,000 each, or 40 people kick in $500 each, or whatever the amount is, $100, $20, when it adds up to $20,000, we buy another missile. And that's why I'm encouraging you to hit that button, because that's what we're up to here. And you all have friends as well. So the question really is, how much could we raise to buy, as I said, missiles to blow up Russian tanks, ambulances to help injured Ukrainians, to feed and take care of Ukrainian soldiers? And that's really the point of the show here. That's why we called it How to Buy a Bomb. We're buying bombs here. Stop Putin's tank. Stop Putin's tanks and more. It doesn't matter how much money you do or don't have. It's how much we can raise together. That's really the point of the show. So please hit that button if you can. We're going to build a page, and we'll announce it on the next show on Tuesday, I hope. A page where you and your friends and family can go anytime to contribute, to buy bombs, to pay for ambulances, to support the Ukrainian troops. We want people to be able to contribute, and for you to share this with your friends and family anytime, so that they can help at any time, not just when we're doing a show. And I really believe, even if you can't contribute, you can get your friends to contribute. And I think that's really one of the greatest things we here in the United States can do together. That's one thing we can all do. Even if we don't have money, we have friends. And together, we can really make a huge contribution. And I think that's why we're all here, isn't it? And to quote Madeleine Albright, who, of course, died last night, former Secretary of State, she once said, it took me quite a long time to develop a voice. That's what we're doing here. We're developing a voice. It took me quite a long time to develop a voice, and now that I have it, I'm not going to be silent. That's really what we're doing, is we're offering you the opportunity to use your voice and not be silent. She was, of course, an immigrant from Prague, near Ukraine. She and her parents, like many Ukrainians today, were forced to flee to save their lives. And the last link I will paste in the chat today, and we'll put in the email, is actually the last op-ed she wrote before she died. It was actually published the day before Russia invaded. The title of it was, Putin is Making a Historic Mistake. She spent a lot of time with Putin. She obviously observed him for many years. She learned a lot about him, and it's a very, very insightful thing. So I encourage you to take a read of that. So this is why we're here. We're raising money to buy bombs, to get ambulances to Ukraine for those who are injured, and to take care of soldiers. There's other things you can do as well. For instance, I mentioned the President Zelensky video. He requested in his video last night, on this 1-month anniversary of the Russian invasion, that we, the people of the world, gather friends and family and head to a public square to join others in showing support of Ukraine and to denounce Russia tonight. That's what I'm doing tonight. What about you? Are there friends and family you could gather? Is there already someone planning a gathering where you live, where you could go with blue and yellow and show your support of Ukraine and to denounce Russia. It makes a difference. It may not make a difference to Vladimir Putin today, but it makes a difference in a lot of other ways, including when you see companies boycotting Russia. When we speak out, when we show up, what we do makes a huge difference.